And we'll call our meeting to order. We will begin with an invocation by Councilmember Garrett, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance offered by Councilmember Egbert.
Our kind Father in heaven, we bow before thee this evening. We're so thankful for the beautiful weather we've enjoyed today and the chance that we have to gather as citizens and friends tonight for the city council meeting. We're grateful for this wonderful community that we live in and for the wonderful neighbors and friends that we have. We pray for each of our residents in their lives that they will be blessed with comfort in their sorrows and their trials, especially bless the Warren family and their loss of their son. And we pray that will bless the rest of us throughout the city, that we will be able to enjoy our lives and that we'll be guided and directed by the Spirit. We pray that will guide us tonight in our discussions, that we can come to peaceful agreements and decisions that will benefit the community that we live in. We pray for these things now and say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our meeting will begin with a public forum. This is where members of the audience can bring to the attention different items to the attention of the mayor and city council. Or should we do the ceremonial items first? Should we do open forum? We've got two people. Shane Ferrier, are you here? Shane? Shane, why don't you come on up? And then Dade Rose, you're here. You're speaking to an item.
Yep.
Okay, so you'll be speaking to an item. Great. Shane?
Yes, thank you. Hey, I am here on behalf of Spring Gardens Assisted Living, just over on the corner, 89 across from Maple Mountain Pharmacy. And I have concern coming up with a new build that is going to take place in front of the building that has a parking concern. We have 63 total apartments, 66 current residents, and I have 12 residents that drive. With the proposed building plan, that would leave only 19 parking spaces for those residents, their cars, and our employees, which is currently 67. So the concern is that overflow onto the road into the neighborhood that would go, I guess, east down that road. So there has been some contact with the current owners of that property to try to negotiate. However, it's gone a little bit in an opposite direction to the point where now they're asking for $100 square foot for land. So $500,000 for 5,000 square feet, which we would expand and would include 6 additional parking spots. So I just wanted the city to be aware that as busy as that establishment is, parking could be an issue into that neighborhood.
And Sean, I don't know if I've talked to Shane about this on a couple of occasions. I don't know if you've seen or have been involved with the property owner that would be developing those lots recently. We haven't seen anything as a council, but maybe you could give I
have copies of the plans if you'd like
an
to see.
update on that.
Yeah, I mean, Casey Warren's the owner. When the project was all originally approved, it included 4 pad sites on the project, and there was a requirement that there was a shared parking agreement between the two, and the assisted living, based on our code, was required to provide a certain number of parking spaces, which was their minimum requirement, and then the rest is shared between the two. But until I haven't seen an application. It's probably a little premature for any discussion with the council, yeah. But I'd be happy to meet with you and discuss any questions you got on it.
Oh, that'd be great.
I think Shane, as we've talked, just wants to, you want to have a voice in this at some point, that there needs to be, or you would like to have some discussions and have a voice in some of the conversations. So I think meeting with you would be very
helpful. Thinking of it as a small business here in Mapleton community, I live just behind the building, and I know a lot of people that live on that street, and having a car that you're not familiar with parked constantly could create an issue.
Did you say you have some of the draft?
I do.
Yeah, I'd love to see what's going on. Appreciate the flag to notice what's going on.
Leave some extras.
Thank you.
So Shane, I can connect you with Sean, or so for you guys to connect, to talk in more detail about whatever details you need, but until an application is made, of course,
Of course.
you know, that would.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for all you do at Spring Gardens. I see Shane on the regular. Okay, let's move on to, we've got a packed house. Ceremonial, we have a Chief Glasgow, or Chief Jackson is going to recognize, do some business, take care of some business.
Yes, thank you. It's an honor to be here and show off some good works that's going on in the Public Safety Department tonight. So thanks for taking a few minutes as we go through this. I would like to invite Chief Glasgow to come up here. While he's coming up, recognizing he's here being supported by his wife, Ashley, his son, Paul, and his son, Stephen, and as you can see, several members of our fire departments. We appreciate them being here to support Chief Glasgow. As you know, Chief Glasgow, when he hired on years back, we asked him to continue education, continue certifications, and recently we got notification of another step he's taking, and they've actually asked me to read this. So Chief Glasgow has been awarded the Utah Managing Fire Officer designation. The Managing Fire Officer designation, in addition to requiring the comprehensive body of career development classes, higher education, certifications, and experiences of the first level of this designation, requires additional education, requires additional certification, training, experience, which Chief Glasgow has documented in a portfolio. The Utah Fire Officer Designation Program is based on criteria developed by the International Association of Fire Chiefs and then adopted by the Utah Commission on Fire Officer Professional Development. By earning this designation, Chief Glasgow is demonstrating his commitment to professionalism and self-improvement by following an ongoing pathway of career preparation. Please join me in personally thanking Chief Glasgow for his hard work and dedication to such a valuable program and serving the firefighters of Utah. In addition to that, as you know, he is pushing and growing our fire department daily, weekly, and he's got a lot of passion. So I know when he's not working, he's coming out, and when he is working, he's still going out. So we certainly appreciate all the work that he's doing, not only out in the field, but in his professional development as well. So they have provided us with a copy of this fire officer designation, so we'll present that to you.
Thank you.
With a pin.
Thanks.
And thank you for your works. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Congrats, Chief.
Before I leave the topic of the fire department, I feel inclined to recognize many of them standing here, and I should have looked closer, but Theron mentioned the tragedy over the weekend. Those guys, I got to see them. They're rock stars this weekend, so I certainly want to recognize those fire department personnel for the work they put in this weekend. So they were fantastic, so thank you guys for that. Okay, moving on, we're going to ask Officer Chad Walker to come up. And while he's coming up, recognizing he's here being supported by his wife, his 3 sons, and several members of the police department. Officer Walker came to us back in December. We actually hired him a little bit before, and then an opening came open in December. He finished the police academy, finished his field training. He's out on the road, and he's handling calls for us now. But one thing we haven't done is officially swear him in, so we would like to do that tonight, and I'll turn the time to Camille to do that.
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, uphold, and defend
that I will support, uphold, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same.
and allegiance to the same.
Furthermore,
Furthermore,
I swear that I have not,
I swear that I have not,
do not, and will not
belong
to any party, group, or organization
belong to any party, group, or organization
which advocates the overthrow of government of the United States,
which advocates for government overthrow of the government of the United States,
the State of Utah,
the State of Utah,
and the City of Mapleton,
and the City of Mapleton,
by force, fear, and violence,
by force, fear, or violence,
terror, or any other manner.
I do further swear
that I will fairly and equally enforce
that I will fairly and equally enforce
the laws of the United States,
the laws of the United States,
the State of Utah,
the State of Utah,
and the City of Mapleton,
and the City of Mapleton,
without anger, malice, or prejudice,
without anger, malice, or prejudice,
and that I will abide by the law enforcement Code of Ethics
and that I will abide by the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics
and the policies and procedures of the Mapleton Police Department.
and the policies and procedures of the Mapleton Police Department.
I take this oath and obligation freely,
I take this oath and obligation freely,
without mental reservation
without mental reservation
and without purpose of evasion.
and without purpose of evasion.
I hereby swear and promise
I hereby swear and promise
that I will discharge the duties
that I will discharge the duties
of this my chosen profession
of this my chosen profession
with honor and fidelity,
with honor and fidelity,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Camille. Appreciate that, and we're certainly excited to have Chad out there. Officer Walker, I'm sorry, we're excited to have Officer Walker out there. He's a fun guy to have around, so we're excited for him. So just over a year ago, a little more than a year ago, we initiated a canine program in Mapleton. You guys remember when that started and how excited we were. In fact, you probably remember when Nix was just a puppy and ran in here and ran around. Nix isn't a puppy anymore. She's been doing work all afternoon, so she's a little bit amped up and probably tired today, so she's not in here today. But as I think it's time that we recognize some of the people that have helped us with this canine program, not only getting it off the ground, but helping us financially. So with that in mind, I would like to have Officer Hatch come up and help me with this. Recognizing Officer Hatch is here supported by her husband, Scott, their 3 children, her father-in-law, Frank, mother-in-law, Shauna. So we're certainly excited to have Officer Hatch back with us and working. So the first one we would like to recognize and have come up is Kendall Young. Kendall, this plaque says Kendall and Sarah Young, but I think Sarah stayed home today. Kendall's here with his 2 sons, and they're welcome to come up too, Kendall. Here, we'll give this to you. We would like to present Kendall with this plaque. Kendall is a friend of mine. Kendall is on the Spanish Fork Fire Department for a number of years. In casual conversation, I mentioned to Kendall that we were starting a canine program, and the next day there was a check sitting on the desk for us. So Kendall is not going to be happy with me when I see him for publicly recognizing him. This is not his style, but it's worth mentioning, and I think it's value. And we want Kendall and his family to know how much we appreciate them and how much value that their donation went to getting Nix up off the ground and trained and all the effort that went into that. So Kendall, we certainly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next, we'd like to have Russ Bishop come up. Russ owns and operates Rival Canine here in Mapleton. Few people were as excited for Nix as Russ was. In fact, Russ had an emotional attachment to Nix, still does. Russ has put a lot of hours into Nix. Russ and Officer Hatch have spent many, many hours working together, and the dog, I'm just telling you, is phenomenal, and it's because of the hard work of these 2 right here. We want, and I don't know if it's happened yet, but I know it will happen. Russ is going to be donating a bulletproof vest for Nix to wear in the field. And so, and not only time and that donation, we just want to thank Russ for the time and effort put into Nix and just let you know how much our department appreciates your time and efforts. Frank and Shauna Hatch, if you guys would come up, please. Frank owns Imperial Plumbing. Imperial Plumbing drives around with thin blue line flags on the back of their trucks. I've known Frank for a lot of years. He's always been a big supporter of law enforcement. These guys' hearts are huge. Just like Kendall, Frank made a financial donation to Nix and our department, and those funds were used to house, feed, train, a bunch of things for the dog. So again, with Frank and Shauna's support, we're able to not use taxpayer dollars to get this dog up and going, so we want to tell them thanks for that.
If I may, it's an honor to support the police and all first responders, so anything you guys need, please let us know. Thank you.
We'll remember that. Thank you.
And before I let her sit down, I just want to tell Officer Hatch how glad we are to have her back. That was not easy to go through for her especially, but for everybody here worrying about you too. So we're certainly glad to have you back, and she's going to be ready to roll here pretty quick. So thank you for letting us take that time. I wanted to show off some good things that are going on in the public safety departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. This is an exciting day, and these are all great things happening in our community, so it's a feel-good night. We have a recognition by the Utah Recreation Parks Association to the Parks and Rec Department for Department of the Year. Oh, here we go. Would you mind stating your name, please?
I would, not mind. My name is Rhett Ogden. I'm actually the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Draper, but tonight I represent the Utah Recreation and Parks Association as the president of the association. Just a little bit about URPA, as we call it. It's a member agency that's full of pretty much every municipality in the state, or at least those that have a park or a recreation department or division, as well as several counties and states and partner agencies and coalitions. And it's a great agency that is across the state from Logan to St. George, and it's a valuable tool for staff members to train and to collaborate and to learn, and it's a very resourceful association. So I appreciate you letting me be here for a minute. I've been going to city council meetings for 23 plus years, and we didn't have one in Draper this week, so thanks for letting me come to yours to make up. Tonight I'm here to celebrate Mapleton City, and specifically their Parks and Recreation Department. You guys have an awesome department, so congratulations. You have a great staff, and they're doing a lot of good things. So it's fairly tough to win an award like this with a lot of competing municipalities, but tonight I'd like to represent Mapleton Parks and Recreation for the Class 1 Department of the Year in the whole state. I think that's worth a round of applause.
I think it's
Class 1 is a designation of 15,000 population or less, and it's quite an application process. Just to recap, I'm sure you as council members and staff know, but a few things I just wanted to highlight about this award. You probably realize that in the past year, the Parks and Rec Department's grown from 3 full-time staff to 8, which is a pretty good jump. So that's awesome. They've currently got at least 31 programs and events that they offer, and I understand there's more coming this year. So for a smaller department, that is just fantastic. One I was really impressed with is a new 30-acre mountain bike park that I'm sure you've all been working on. That is great, and I personally love to hear that. That's something that my city we've worked on for many, many years as is trails and mountain biking and master plans. So congratulations, and it's great to see other cities participating in that, and it'll be a fantastic venue for your city, I promise. So just another reason why we've awarded this to your city and your department. Things that are innovative or things that your community needs, like a wreck and roll trailer that goes around your city and make sure that everyone has opportunities to participate. Doing digital tours with your historic preservation committee to have walking tours and stuff, I think is very neat. And then implementing software to make staff more efficient, to make communication between the city and the residents better, and make sure everyone knows what's going on, and to really have a great outreach, I think is important. And just some of the reasons that Mapleton Parks and Recreation was selected as the Department of the Year. I've enjoyed getting to know Logan the past year or two, and he's a great director, and you're lucky to have him and his staff. And if it's okay, I'd just like to invite Logan up and present him with this award, and any staff you'd like to have come up, and give them all a round of applause. Okay, can we get a picture with the Parks and Rec staff that are here? Is that okay?
absolutely. Yep.
That'd be great.
We'll just kind of snuggle behind you.
All right, 1, 2, 3, and one more. One, two, three. Awesome. Congrats, everyone.
Good job. On behalf of URPA, thank you for letting me come tonight, and congratulations on this award and to your department. Have a great night.
Thank you, Rhett, for coming down to make the presentation, and congratulations to Logan and your team. This is a great night for our city for a lot of reasons, and it's great to see people in so many different ways contributing to be part of the solution in a lot of different ways. So thank you. Good things are coming. Right, Logan? You got it. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the remaining agenda items. We have a consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve or amend?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Beck
Second.
and a second by Councilmember Garrett.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Okay, let's move on to our discussion items. Sean, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So this item, you'll recall back in 2018, we approved an annexation and development agreement and master plan for Sunrise Ranch. It was 540 units. It was going to be a mix of single-family detached townhomes and then 2 senior neighborhoods. That's what we're here to talk about tonight, is the 2 55-plus communities. Bird Homes owns about 54 of those lots, and Regal Homes owns 83 of those lots. Both of them came to the city, not together. They came within about a week apart, just indicating that it's been difficult marketing the 55 and older community, and just wanted to see if there was any interest in allowing them to remove that 55 and older requirement from those 2 neighborhoods. This is the Sunrise Ranch Master Plan. You can see kind of on the top left is Regal Homes, and the top right is Bird Homes. So there's a mix of the 4-plex units and then smaller kind of pad, single-family detached lots. This is an example of what the detached units look like, and then the 4-plexes look more like this. As far as senior housing, at the time the annexation was going through, the city was getting quite a bit of interest from developers to do these 55 and older communities. We did approve one before this, which was the Dignity Care that's located on the highway close to Harvest Park. When the applicant was proposing the project or requesting approval for the project, they came to the city and requested the senior community component. It was not something that the city asked for. They didn't get any density bonus because they were offering that. It was just part of what they were requiring. As far as the city's housing element, we do encourage a variety of housing types, but there really is no direction on or goals related to providing a specific amount of senior restricted housing. And then, of course, with the state emphasis recently on affordable housing and entry-level housing, there may be some interest, and this may be a good time to consider this change. So that's what we're really here to do tonight, is just to have a discussion to see if there is some interest from the council to consider that. We have representatives from both Bird and Regal Homes here, so they can address the council on what they're seeing and why they're making the request.
So Sean, as a discussion item, do we want them to come up and speak to it, or do we just talk and invite them up as needed? What would you?
I'd probably have them each come and share what their
perspective
request is and their perspective, yeah.
Okay, we'll have Dade Rose. Why don't you come on up first? And we have someone from Bird Homes as well.
Yeah, they're in the back.
Oh, back here. Okay.
Hello, so my name is Dade Rose. Thanks for letting me join you. It's wonderful to be able to be in these city council meetings and see that they're so well run, and just see democracy in action is special, especially when we see all the confusion going on in the rest of the country. So thank you.
You haven't seen our Facebook page yet, have you?
No, I try to stay away from social media. I'd like to talk just a little bit about what brought us to this point. So my company is Regal Homes. We build subdivisions and homes throughout the Wasatch Front and the Wasatch Back. We've had several projects in Salt Lake Valley. We've have many ongoing projects up in Wasatch County, and we have projects, of course, down here in Utah County. And our niche has always been one where we will sell predominantly to people that are 55 years and older. And the way we do that, though, is we do it through right-sizing. So these are people that have had families and children, and they say, you know what, I'm tired of being in a two-story home. I want to have my primary bedroom on the main floor, and I want to be able to enjoy the next 20, 25 years of my life before, who knows, maybe I end up in an assisted living facility, right? And so it's something that people look to and they love, and we design all our homes in that way. So if you were to go look at our homes here, and not to say occasionally we'll branch out, but our bread and butter is this niche. And if you go to look at all our homes, you'll see that they're in this Bella Vita subdivision. You'll see they all have the primary bedrooms on the main floor. We don't focus on creating five-bedroom houses, because the people that we're selling to, they generally don't have 4 or 5 kids that they need housing for. Instead, they want to be in a home that has great living spaces, gathering areas, and they want to be able to have a comfortable bedroom where they can live and they can entertain. Their family can come back on a Sunday and have a Sunday dinner, and they can have the grandkids over for the holidays, all that kind of thing. So that's what we do. And the irony for us, this is actually our first experience with a 55-plus community. We did not originally request this zone. We purchased this property from the Sunrise Ranch master developer. And we bought this a couple years ago. Well, we assumed that it would still be the same thing, that people would recognize the housing and they'd say, yes, we want to be there, this is great, you've designed for us, right? But instead, what we're finding is there's more of a difference in people as they approach this. And I think it's because, as we've analyzed it, that people are just living longer and living better and more healthy, active lives. So that as people approach 55, 57, 60, 62, they aren't thinking, well, I'm moving to just slow down, right? They're thinking, I want to live in a house and in a community that's vibrant, I'm active, I like to go, do a vigorous walk or run, I like to play pickleball, I like to swim, I like to do all these things. I'm not ready to retire. And so it's almost like there's a little bit of a stigma that we have found. Because the homes are beautiful, the neighborhood's great, the setting here in Mapleton, as you well know, is spectacular. What's slowing things down? And that's what we're finding. We're finding it's that kind of a feeling. The other thing is that as we go forward and we have this opportunity, we have people that are in their late 40s, early 50s that they would like to get in. But they don't necessarily think of, well, I'm going to go live in a 55-plus community. They just want to live in that type of community where maybe they have one child or maybe they don't have any kids. And so we're just finding that the mandatory requirement is really impeding the progress of providing housing for all these different people. And if we can take away the mandatory, and instead, we're still going to market to people in this group. We're going to right size, we're going to bring people in, they're going to love the neighborhood, they're going to love their friends, their community. And if you go look at our projects, like I mentioned, you're going to see, let's say something like around 85% of the people are over 55 years of age, but they don't feel like it's being mandated upon them. So that's the reason for the request. We feel like it's important. It's still going to serve the same purpose of being able to provide excellent housing for people in this segment. And we'd appreciate it if we could have your support and be able just to remove this sort of top-down order that it's got to be 55 plus. Any questions I can answer for anybody?
I've been through both of your projects. I've walked through your homes. I'm in the real estate world,
Okay.
and you build a good product.
Yeah.
So good job on that.
Thank you.
Both of you.
And we'd be happy to show you sometime if you'd like to come by and again, if you're looking for a house. Any other questions? Anything I can respond to?
Not quite at 55 yet.
Well, see, it's perfect for you. It's not going to be mandated.
Just wondering if we did go ahead with this, would you change any of the design of the housing? Or
No,
they have full basements?
We have the ability to do full basements. So we can have a full basement. Sometimes we do a full basement, sometimes not, and it becomes a pricing issue for people. People maybe don't want to spend as much money, and they say, I don't really need the full basement. And others say, yeah, I've got to have the full basement. So we do both.
So do you have a customer lined up before you start building, or how do you?
We've sold 2 homes that we've closed. So we sold our model home, it's a beautiful home, and we've leased it back. So we're in that house for another 2 years, and the family's fine with it, and then we just have one other home that's closed. But we've been pushing this and waiting to see how the market responds since last fall, and I'll be interested to hear what our neighbors from Byrd have to say, but it's been slow. And as you say, they're beautiful homes. There's no reason why it should be so different from all of our other communities. We think it's this.
Does the economy have anything to do with it?
Certainly it has. The interest rates haven't helped, right? But we're still selling homes in our other communities at a faster pace.
I think generally the life cycle, I know you have other experiences in other locations, but I think the sales cycle for someone in this age range there's not a lot of urgency. Generally speaking, right? They can take a year or two to think about what their plans are.
Sure.
Right.
But that's the case always, right? So in our other subdivisions, the same thing happened. They had taken that year or two, and then it was,
now they're doing
and now they're ready. And in this situation, it's funny. I mean, we come back to sort of this stigmatization, and just someone saying, you know, I'll be the first to confess, I'm over 55, okay? But I'm not thinking that I'm going to go buy in a 55-plus community, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm like, hey, I can go play pickleball, I can go swim, I can go do some of these other fun things. I want to engage still.
I'm curious if, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, of the 2 that you've already closed on, I assume you've had this conversation with them and they're okay not having bought into it, knowing that it was going to be a 55 community and then now it's not going to be?
Yeah, so it's, the way we do these subdivisions, we always have to draft conditions, you know, declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Mm-hmm. And so we go through that very carefully. Our salespeople do with our buyers and describe, here's what we have. We have the ability to make changes, because often we'll get into a neighborhood or a community and we find out something isn't quite working, right? And then we can make some changes, and they understand that. But again, we're going to end up with about the same mix. It's just not being mandated. That's it.
Are there other developments in South Utah County that are also 55 and older that are on a similar timeline that are also struggling to sell their units?
Yeah, so I believe it is with the case with Byrd, but I'll let them speak for themselves. I had our sales director poll just the information, and I provided it to Sean. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get it to you before Thursday of last week, but I think he's emailed it to you. So currently in Mapleton, there's our community, Bella Vita, that's by Regal Homes, and then Byrd Homes has its 55 plus, and then there's Mapleton Dignity Care, and that's Maple Landing. And so we went through and pulled all of the home sales over this period of time, and if you were to look at it, the average days on market for a 55 plus home is 70 days. The average days on market for a non-55 is 43. So I mean, you're seeing that there's a discrepancy, and normally we wouldn't have thought that, but there actually is. Any other questions? Well, please support us in this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Byrd, will you please state your name?
Brian Bird. Dave summed it up perfectly. As far as other projects, maybe just I can add something that maybe he didn't share. We have a project in Salem, and same situation, 55 and older, and the city council just approved removing the restriction on about 150 units of 55 and older. And then Dave and I are both up in a project called Sawmill in Heber, and I think at the same time Dave came in and we came in, the city also up there removed the 55 and older restriction. I think it's stigma, because like Dave said, it's kind of weird. When I was talking to Sean on the phone, I think most of our buyers are going to be 55 and older. I'm 55, but it's a stig. I don't know what it is. I think some people think if they buy there, they're in like a nursing facility subdivision, and so, you know, so we believe we're not changing our plans. We are going to maybe do some slab on grades. We've seen Regal put out a couple of slab on grades. And at first we put unfinished basements because we thought people downsizing might want a place for storing materials, but our price point's just too high. So as soon as we get the ones sold that we have, our next, we actually have a plan where it will be slab on grade.
Yeah, in your quads.
Our quads will be
those
slab on
quads are
grade.
huge.
Yeah.
With the
They're
basements.
way big.
Yeah.
And our thinking with the quads was, who would want to share walls and almost be the same price? We paid 200, I don't know what Dave bought his property for, but we paid too much.
Yeah.
We paid 200,000 a lot. If you averaged our price of land over the 55 sites, it's like 200 grand a pad. And then our building permits are like 20-ish, you know, and our interest carries around 25, and real estate commissions are another 20 to 30. So, you know, so we were thinking, give them a basement and a bonus room with a garage, and that would kind of make them want to be in a fourplex instead of a cottage. And really, it's kept us so our price is almost the same. So we erred in that, I think, but we were trying to give them something that we thought would sell. But anyway, yeah, we think it's stigma. We think we'll still sell the same product type. We may throw in some slab on grades, so there's no basement, just to see if we can get price down. But yeah, we love Regal's product. Your fourplex came out looking awesome. We love the white. We kind of stalled on our exterior. We're super slow. We're way slower than Regal. We really just try to follow somebody that knows what they're doing so we don't make dumb mistakes. But anyway, yeah, we're all for if somebody wants to do a motion and help us remove that requirement. But I think we'll still get the same people. And like Dave said, we probably have, like in Heber, we may get a buyer walk through a model a day. And we even have our doors keyed with like 24-hour access, so they don't have to, you know, they can just come key in their phone number and an email and put a picture of a driver's license, and they can access our models. We're still only getting like one a day. In Mapleton, we're probably one a week, and which is just odd. And we have a
Talked to
subdivision.
Audrey several times.
So you've talked to Audrey, and so up in Idaho, we have an 80-lot subdivision. We just build 6 to 10 houses a year on spec, and they're all sold. And they're 2,000 square foot ramblers, 850 grand. So I don't know what it is. I think it might be 55 and older community. I think people, for some reason, don't want to say that's where they live. So we're hoping that will remove it. We could get some fresher signs and try to rebrand the area.
So I get the same question. Do you have any buyers or anybody that's closed that?
Oh, yeah. So same thing. My parents actually bought Lot 1. So Lot 1 is my parents. You don't see it on the closed records. It should close like any day. They were contingent upon their house selling in Evergreen. So they live just on the other side of this Evergreen Cemetery. So they've been living in it since Halloween. They love it. They love the area. So they don't have an issue with us making the change, my parents. And then Lot 2 is our model home. And we have, like they've done, we have a buyer that's closing, and we have like a 2-year lease back. And then we have 3 people, like we actually have contracts with 3 people, one serving in a mission at the Salt Lake Temple. And so their contract says they can close in 7 months. They have $5,000 earnest money. We don't know if they're real or not. But their purchase price is like $8.25, just to let you know. so with the basement finished. They say they're going to buy as soon as they're done with their LDS mission. And then we have another woman who just got remarried, and her husband doesn't want to put his money into it. She loves it, but she wants him to put up half. I guess they're a second marriage, so some kind of weird issue there. But we think we're close. I think Audrey's close with her. And then there's a third one, we're close. So we think we have 3 that are not my parents or our model. But again, like for 2 years, that's like,
It's been the case.
it's horrible, yeah. If we didn't have like a real friendly land partner, we'd be in trouble.
Have you had that conversation with them, though, about this topic of removing the restriction?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Like,
all
I
okay
believe
with
Audrey's
removing.
100% on board, and she knows her people.
Oh, she's been
So-
Audrey's the sales agent, and she's
Yeah.
great.
And the 55 and older requirement, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we can still sell 20% of our product.
That's correct.
Or is it
It's
10? Okay. So to us, we're thinking if we have 52 units, we could have done 5 anyway, so we're kind of there anyway. But that's why we want to make the decision now before we get people that will then be upset that it changed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion, comments, questions?
I'll just say
They've
right
asked
off,
what internet they're using. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, what internet are you guys using? What internet do you have over there?
Make sure Mapleton
Right, yeah.
Fiber's pulled there.
We had a contract with First Digital long before we knew you guys were doing your own.
Brian.
how much does it cost to get out of your contract?
Still need to talk about that one. Have you seen our roads?
Yeah.
I'm so sad about, like, our roads look so bad. Anyway.
Okay.
So this is a discussion item, not
Right.
for a motion, right?
Right, this is just discussion.
I have no issue with pulling the 55 older off. We didn't necessarily start the conversation at
Yeah.
55, even as the city. I like the concept that this is a different housing package for a different type of audience, potentially, even if you're trying to sell it the same with our need for housing in the state. I'm very supportive of having different options. I actually really would recommend having more slab-on-grade options for that price point. I think that would be really helpful to get people into home ownership. So I personally have no issue.
Same here. I've been trying to think about any drawback there, and I just can't think of any. So I'm also supportive.
Yeah, my take's the same. I'm very supportive of more options for more affordable housing, obviously. The only restriction or the thought I had was if there were people who owned and that bought into it knowing that it was going to be 55 and were going to be upset. But as long as that's not the case, awesome.
You can handle your parents. So we would have to move this to the next council meeting to vote on, or can we?
So what'll have to happen, I'll have to notice it for planning commission meeting,
Yeah.
and then it'll come to council. So 2 steps, but if you're supportive, that's great for them to know, and we'll move forward with it quickly.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
As a member of the council, I don't believe it's our obligation to change things because it's not economically feasible for a private landowner.
Right.
It's been consistent over the years, and I still feel that way. So lest it be announced that the real estate agent on the council is supporting the change so we can sell more houses, that's not what I want to communicate. That being said, I'm really indifferent about the change. I do think having housing and an active lifestyle experience for seniors is critical. Is that active enough? I mean, that's a whole different conversation, so I'm very open to it. I do have some I don't know that it's going to solve your problem because there's some inherent challenges that you're up against that I think you're well aware of. But a question or concern I have that we should discuss is the ravine behind the bird project.
Yep.
And I've been to the homes, and again, well done on both of the homes. They're beautiful homes, so kudos to you for making those decisions. And that's what seniors really want to move into. That being said, can you speak to the ravine? Because in some parts, there's quite a drop-off, as near as I could tell from some of the homes. Could you speak to that, Sean, and what can be done, what has been put in place by the city? By no means am I suggesting that 55 and olders don't have grandkids that go back there. But is there a risk to the city, should there be potentially more, a wider variety of homeowners in there?
Yeah, I mean, all that property is owned by the HOA, so it's a public, or it's a.
Back to
it's-
the ravine or including the ravine?
These are just pad sites, so they only own the pad. And then it's common area, everything else.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure of on who really owned the ravine.
Yeah, it's common
What
area.
is the HOA?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, that addresses that, okay. And then at that point then, as far as the city's concerned, they take care of their CCR changes, all of that, that's their deal.
Yeah.
And they would change the development agreement with us, is that what would?
So the development agreement actually didn't specify the 55 and older, it's the zoning.
Oh, got it,
So
okay,
the zoning, that's why it needs to go to planning commission and then back to you.
got it, okay.
So we'll get that in motion.
Might mention that I'm above 55, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, but you're sporting a Corvette, Reed.
And I purposely wouldn't live in one 55 and older community, so.
Stigma?
Yeah, well, I like kids. I like being around people. I like activity, so I can certainly see both sides.
Okay,
I am over 55, too.
I would never have guessed that, Reed, ever. Okay, so that's, gives you an idea of where we're at on that. Okay.
I'll get in touch with you guys, let you know.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, Sean, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. So you may recall at the retreat, we had a little bit of discussion on this, and so we've scheduled it for a discussion item to get some feedback. As you know, throughout town, specifically in the older neighborhoods, there's areas where the dedicated right-of-way is much wider than what the improvements are. And on occasion, we get requests from property owners to be able to either purchase or for the city to vacate that so that they could incorporate it into their property. And it just so happens that we've had 3 of those requests in the last few months, right? It's interesting how these things come up sometimes kind of rapidly like that. So our thought was, at this point, we don't have a lot of good information to provide back when applicants or property owners make those requests. So we are proposing that we have a policy adopted that can help at least guide the decision-making process in the future. You know, these are some photos throughout town of areas that are, you know, primarily improved with the roadway, no curb gutter or sidewalk in most cases. In most of these instances, it's not likely that the city would ever go in and want to widen the streets or add curb gutter and sidewalk. So the policy would basically just require an applicant to submit an application. It would be reviewed by the DRC, the Development Review Committee first, and then come to the City Council as a public hearing. Some of the criteria would be we'd have to review and determine that there is no or unlikely to need any of that right-of-way for future roadway improvements or other utility needs. The right-of-way we would want to be consistent along a block or in between a street, right? We wouldn't want the right-of-way to zigzag if only one property owner was requesting it and the adjacent property owners were not. The vacated right-of-way would need to be combined with the adjacent parcels, so we're not creating spite strips that could be sold to someone else, right? That could create some significant problems. And then the applicant would be the one that would be required to do the survey work and to prepare any of the legal documents. Really, one of the big questions is the law does require us to have some economic consideration if you're giving up city property. There's no requirement on what that needs to be, and so it's really up to the council to kind of make a determination on that. Our recommendation or suggestion in the policy was $25,000 an acre. It would be prorated based on how much you were requesting, well below market value. A big reason for that is the consideration that the city initially requested, in most cases, a certain right-of-way, and now it's being determined we no longer need it. So it seemed a little bit extreme to ask for, you know, full market value on something like that. But so that was just a suggestion for your consideration. But this is just a discussion item, so we just were looking for some feedback and some direction from the council.
For some of the people that have talked with you already, I don't know how they would fit with some of this criteria, but would they, based on what you're seeing, are those not on streets that would probably need to be widened at some point? Like, do you think I guess I'm not sure what I'm asking.
The
Just,
three examples most recently, no. All of them would be on streets that would most likely qualify
this.
under something like
As
this.
far as the staff, engineering, and planning, we'll make sure we're looking at that closely. What is our long-term plans with that area of town, so.
Yeah, we've got a transportation, our transportation master plan identifies all the existing city streets as to what type of street they are, and then there's a designated cross-section. So we wouldn't give up, even if there's, an existing pavement and it's designated to be something bigger in the end, we wouldn't give up the right-of-way that we would need to widen it. But yeah, there's lots of more places than that where we have right-of-way well beyond anything that we, I don't know well beyond, but anyways, beyond anything that we need. And my personal view on this is there's really no risk that I see of we may want to go wider in the end. Typically, streets in the west are already wider than streets in the east of the United States. And so, I mean, if anything, if the, political winds change or something, we may go smaller. There may be pushes to go smaller. I know developers want us to go smaller already, but I don't see us going back to requiring the same right-of-way that we required in the 90s and the early 2000s. I mean, we're already smaller than that, and still they're wide enough that people like to speed on all the streets. So.
I think it's a good idea to put something in place. That's what we're proposing, right, is to put some kind of criteria in place so we can make these judgment calls. One suggestion I might make is if this is going to be in writing and long-term, then let's put in a percentage of market value instead of just putting 25,000. That way, as market changes, it goes with that. So still give them a steep discount, but let it ebb and flow with the market value.
And I think I'm in support of the direction of this policy. I do, what is the likelihood that there is a parcel that someone could, do right of way, and that all of a sudden makes their property large enough to do some other things that wouldn't otherwise be permitted in that neighborhood or that zone?
Yeah.
I would hate to create a situation where now we have this odd-sized property that now creates some, it's incongruous to the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's part of why it would have to come to a public hearing with the council. We're proposing this as a policy. We're not adopting it as code. It's just meant to give you some framework to address these types of requests as they come up. But yeah, that is a possibility.
So that legislative piece clearly is total discretion by the council.
Right.
Sean and Rob, I know we've talked about this quite a bit, but something I was just thinking about, is there any interest in putting in a policy that maybe we want an easement there? So in the future, you ever needed to run a water or sewer through there, we know we have the ability to do that. So something to consider.
Yeah, you can include a public utility easement or something.
I think that would be wise to do in the interest of the city.
Could we say, if they do want to do that, then they couldn't change the zone on the property later? Say like they have a large piece of parcel of property and want to subdivide it down to quite a bit to where it would need to have a sidewalk, and now the sidewalk area would be on their property. So it wouldn't have a sidewalk, or would we require them, well, you've got to go back and take give us back some of the property for the sidewalk on it?
Yeah, I mean, the way I would see this is if you have a street that doesn't have curb gutter or sidewalk, and we as a staff are bringing it to the council saying, we're okay with this instance of giving up the right-of-way because we don't intend to ever do that, right? That would be the analysis that we would.
A street with like third acre lots that wouldn't have a sidewalk.
I doubt there are instances like that, most of the roads, at least in these examples, right, they're the older part of town, so they're the 2+ acre lots typically. But if you were in a situation like that, that's what we would be looking at when the request came in is it likely that we're going to need sidewalk here? And if it is, then that would affect the recommendation that we'd have to you for sure.
Can you go back to the pictures? Who's currently taking care of like the grass along the side?
Either no one or the adjacent owner.
Okay.
Yeah. The city may go in certain locations. Sometimes there are visibility issues that we need to trim trees or something like that. On occasion, we do it, but yeah, typically it's either the adjacent owner or it's not being done at all.
And kudos to our community. They do a pretty good job as you drive out and about of trying to take care of that and makes it look nice. Right.
Some do, some don't, right? Yeah.
I like, Theron, I think your suggestion about percentage will create some equitability over time. I think that was a good idea. Leslie, your comment about could taking over the right-of-way expand the lot? Part of me is like, oh, cringe, yes, it could. But then also, if it does, then they would follow whatever was appropriate for that zone. So it is possible that someone would be able to get a lot size that's one, maybe they're 0.85 and they move to an acre and they can, depending on the zone, divide or use a TDR to get to 2.5s. And that's okay to me. Like that's the property right of the whole thing. So if it's within the zone already where they could, and they're doing that for the sake of it, that's a pretty big step to get all your neighbors on board to do the same thing. So yes, that is a potential consequence. However, if they're zoned to be able to divide the lot anyway, then I wouldn't really have any heartburn with them exercising that property right if they were able to get all the neighbors to hop on board and get that right away. So it could be good, it could be bad, but it's still kind of within the scope of what the zones are for in the first place. So I think it's fantastic to create a policy and create one more option for our citizens who are interested in this. I think that price point is hopefully not prohibitive, but still appropriate. I'm not sure what comps in other communities might be, because I've actually never heard of a right-of-way buyback, so I'd be really interested if you had any other information. But I like the percentage. I think that makes good sense. So I definitely support moving forward with documenting a process to allow this to happen in the appropriate circumstances.
That's all we need, unless
Okay.
there's any other comments on it.
Great.
Okay, we'll bring it back to council.
Okay, can we have a,
I don't know
is
what
this,
the protocol is, but could I make a public comment?
well,
It's up to you, yeah.
sure. Please come up to the microphone and state your name and your address.
Jim Bartley, 98 North, 1800 East. We live right on the corner of Maple and 1800 East. And I just found out about this today, and I would love the opportunity to purchase the parking strip around my property. I have a unique situation where I have a neighbor across the street who's creating the subdivision up on the hill there that you are probably all aware of. And sometimes that shoulder there, I'll have a landscaper come and beautify it and, with weed and feed and make it really nice. And about 2 days later, I find 3 yards of dirt in the middle of it, or a bunch of construction materials laying there, or trucks parked on it. And so it gets kind of torn up. And I'm trying to beautify my property. Well, that's not my property, but the adjacent property to mine. So for me, it would be a nice benefit. I know, what do they call them? Goat heads, those little stickers. I've got 6 kids under 11 years old, and they're riding their bikes.
It's our city mascot, the goat head.
I'm sorry?
It's our city mascot, the goat head.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, no offense to goat heads. But throughout our neighborhood, on both sides of the street, they're constantly getting popped tires. So if my neighbors jumped in on the idea of beautifying their parking strip as well, it would obviously be something welcome to not just be me, but, well, more me, because I'm fixing tires, but my kids as well, so they can ride their bikes to school. So I like the idea. I would really welcome it. I would purchase it at the $25,000 rate. And I don't know what it would equal out when you look at the slivers that go around. But anyways, thank you for...
Wonderful. Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And that, there's actually been 4 people, because I forgot, Jim and I have talked
Oh,
about this
okay.
before. So yeah, 4 in the last
Okay.
several months.
And there could be more. Please come to the microphone, please, and state your name.
If they were only on the same side of the road.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like there might be more after he talks to his neighbors.
Yeah, there's some peer pressure coming.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when I don't have 2 kids running around when I'm trying to talk up here. But that's my house on the top left. Cameron Rich. I love the idea. I'm the one that had to come here because my neighbors didn't like my trees. If you remember, I had to come, I put trees up, and it created a lot of drama in the neighborhood. I didn't know who it was. I thought it was one neighbor, so I was mad because he put an accessory dwelling up, and I'm like, why can't I put a tree up if you put an accessory dwelling? Then another neighbor got mad because he wanted to drive his truck for a wider turn. Anyway, I love the idea. I love everything about Mapleton. The one thing that I don't like about Mapleton is I call it the waste strip, like he said. It's just full of stickers. And I've put $40,000 into both sides of mine. If you drive by, it's all trees. I put sprinklers in it and everything. But I can't keep the goat heads out because my neighbors have them, then they track them in. And I actually, at night, go over and spray my neighbor's goat heads without asking. It's like, the only issue I see is the actual, for me, I'd write you a check right now and do it. But my neighbors will all fight me, so I wouldn't do it. So the only thing I see is like the potential kind of like the TDR thing that I went through. If you're gonna try to get the neighbors on board, you're gonna have like all these neighborhood, like, I don't wanna do it, but they just did it, and now they did it across the street, and I have to get my neighbor over here. And for me, it's like, if it's 15 feet in front of me, I don't even think my neighbor should be able to have a say in it. Like, it's my property, like. So I just see a lot of drama in the neighborhood with that. I also don't think you would be able to get a lot of full neighbors to do it because a lot of people don't care. They're just like, I'm not gonna buy it, my property taxes are gonna go up. And then I think the reason that this would eventually take over Mapleton is every time somebody wanted to sell their house, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. My property value is gonna go up. I'm gonna go from 2.5 to 2.8 acres. Of course I'll do it. And then I'll go sell my house and I'll make an extra 50 grand. And then the next neighbor will come in and hopefully beautify it. But I think somebody, like my neighbors, some of my neighbors, I don't think they'll just be like, it's weeds, I'm not gonna do anything with it, I'm not gonna have my property taxes go up. And then so for me, who I've been attacked by my neighbors for putting trees up, you know, I'm trapped. I can't do anything because my neighbor doesn't wanna do it. And then if my neighbors across the street do it, I'm gonna be mad because I'm gonna be like, my neighbors across the street can do it, but I can't do it. Like, and lastly, I'll say, I also don't really like the idea that there is property in front of my house that I don't own that I have to take care of and I have no option to own it. For me, it's kind of like, well, if you own it, you take care of it. If I can buy it, I'll take care of it. But even though I put $40,000 into my park strips, I could see somebody that's like, you know, because it is a regulation or policy or something that we have to take care of these, right? The park strips.
There's landscaping standards if you choose to do it, yeah.
No, I meant right now. You have to take care of the park strip regardless of whether or not you own it, right?
No, the ordinance has standards for what you can do if you choose to landscape it.
Oh, okay. I thought you
we
had
do
to
have
maintain the-
requirements for sidewalk. If you have a sidewalk that's in front that you have to keep clear and things like that. But.
Got it. So that's my only thing. My whole neighborhood's at war, so I just see this another war. Like,
Well,
but I'm
Cameron,
glad-
I'm sorry to hear that there's a battle going on in your neighborhood, and you make some valid arguments from a homeowner perspective. I will share with you from a city perspective, if you can imagine that boundary line map having, you know, this right-of-way boundary that looks like a jigsaw puzzle. If one neighbor versus, you know, 1 in every 7 neighbors does it, from a city perspective, that can be really problematic.
Yeah, I think it would look funny on the map, but I think over time it would eventually smooth out. Otherwise, I don't think you'll get neighbors on board because they'll just fight with each other. So for me, I think it's good for the city too, because I always bug Casey. I'm like, hey, let's put a trail between Maple Canyon and the main trail, because like people are fighting for their lives on that road, and they go through, and I'm like, right here, you'd probably get 100,000 just like that, and people would go make their park strips better, and then you'd have money to go put a trail in. So I think for me, it's kind of, every 10 years, somebody might look at the county map and see this, and then whatever, it is what it is, nothing changes. So that's just my opinion on it. I don't like neighborhood drama, and I just see it as like a TDR thing where people are coming in here and my neighbor's fighting about my front 10 feet, and I'm like, why are you fighting with me? So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, we appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you so
Uh-huh.
much.
Yep, thanks.
I can appreciate, you know, it's easy to appreciate the frustration if somebody can and somebody can't.
Totally.
But for me, the issue of the zigzaggy line is actually more of a safety thing. If you're driving down a road and the curb jumps out, we have one.
Yeah.
We have a pretty dramatic pole near my house that that I think I'm gonna die on one day. So that's my concern. You're not, if it wasn't a safety thing, or I would probably be less sensitive about it, especially for those large lot size, that it'd be stretched out over a large size, but there's definitely a safety implication to it. But hopefully you'll have some settling in your neighborhood. We'll see how this policy actually might affect it.
I think we talked about it during the retreat, didn't we, about consistency, and if we're gonna allow this, we'll build into some criteria that says one person can't do it right in the middle and then build a park strip or
Yeah, I think there's,
build
yeah,
a curb.
think
So I
that's
think,
part of that
I think
policy.
generally, the staff has thought through as many of these issues as they possibly can.
Yeah. All right, Sean, is that what you need?
Yep, thank you.
Great. Okay, we'll now move on to administrative reports.
Where
Sean?
do you want to start?
Oh,
Nothing
sorry.
for me.
Well, we've had the emails back and forth telling me the status on the project up the canyon. I guess just as a quick one, and then if y'all have any questions, I wasn't here last city council, and I understand there was a long discussion, but if you guys have some follow-up for me, I'm happy to answer questions. As of right now, the pipe is all the way up past the campground. They've worked right where the right-hand fork, I guess, forks off from the left-hand fork. They're going up the left-hand fork. As long as the Cooper's Hawk doesn't show up in the next week, we'll start up the right-hand fork also. They've done some exploratory stuff to make sure we know where all the springs are up the right-hand fork, but have not done a lot of construction until, like I said, about another week, making sure that Cooper's Hawk hasn't moved in. If it does,
What are
we'll
you
be on
saying,
hold.
that as long as the what hasn't come?
Cooper's Hawk.
Oh,
Cooper's Hawk,
is that like the desert tortoise?
yeah, somewhat. Although there's several nesting migratory
Oh,
birds
got
that
it.
if they nest,
Got it.
then you can't do stuff that would
During the season?
Yeah, during the season.
Got it, okay.
So it hasn't been seen so far. Nothing against the Cooper's Hawk, but we're hoping it's not seen in the next week because we've got a project to get done, and then it can come back next year. But that's where things are at. The original plan was on the road itself was to do a trench patch as we worked on it, and we were unsure as to exactly what would happen when we started doing work on it. It's most of the road up to the campground, especially above the chlorinator building, was just a chip seal on top of chip seal, not a real, thick pavement like we have on city streets. And so, as soon as we started doing construction, it was destroyed. Yeah, it just came apart. So we've got to do a full rebuild. So at this point, instead of doing it, it had originally been planned for the middle of just trench repair. They set aside a time in the middle of June, but if we're going to rebuild the road, we don't want to rebuild it in the middle of construction, and then the heaviest traffic it's going to see for the next 50 years is going to be in the next 4 months after. So they're setting aside a separate time for us in September to pave that. So for right now, we're putting up road base to make it as nice as we can for the time being. And then we'll pave it, and it'll be a nice road at the end of the project. And with that, I don't know if y'all have any other follow-up questions. Like I said, I know we've been emailing back and forth. But.
Do we have a feel for how much it may add to the project, cost to add to the project to upgrade the road?
No, we're putting together a plan that the contractor can bid out right now. The Forest Service has indicated, because this is a road that they've never had before, that they're hoping that they can find some funds to help cover the costs as well. But we're finalizing a design that we're 100% sure that they're on board with. And then the contractor will cost that versus the trench repair that he was gonna do, kind of what are the additional costs of doing this full rebuild, and then I'll go talk with the Forest Service and see what they can provide, and hundreds of thousands for sure. This is it's a major deal building a new road, so. The other project that's going on, big project that's gonna start up is, we've got our bid opening tomorrow for the pressurized irrigation, bringing that from, there's a couple of smaller connections between 800 South and 1600 South, but then it's bringing it from 1600 South all the way down to Mapleton Heights, and then Mapleton Heights and Mapleton Village are going to connect together in Harmony Ridge. So after this project, and kind of depending on how fast the developers are building, we should, even as early as next year, have irrigation available to all the products that are built so far and being built. So,
Great, thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Reed, well done on the party this last week at the garbage, at the transfer station.
I enjoyed the party. Quite a few came to it. As you know, we've been working on that for 6 years, so I'm going to start talking about something else, I guess. But we did successfully shut down the old plant Thursday night, and it's been shut ever since, and we're starting to vacate the property with our equipment, and the demo's starting to happen fairly soon. So we're 100% over the new facility, a few little glitches, but we're working through them, and so far so good.
What's going to be done at the old property?
What's that?
What's going to happen to the old property?
It's already in this contract for sale. It's probably going to turn mostly into satellite townhomes and.
Yeah, I think it's a big master community. I saw a preliminary sketch probably a year or so ago.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big, large project.
Part of it's going to be an expansion of Love's and trucking services as well. And I think there might be a little bit of business, but most of it's small residences, I
Residential,
think.
higher density.
Yeah, we have about 50 acres there, I think, 45, 50 acres there that they're taking over. But so far, so good.
Great.
Great,
That's
thank
cool.
you.
Well, we went to the league event, and that was pretty fun. It was fun to see more recognition for Parks and Rec for our Healthy Utah designation that we celebrated on other people's behalf.
I brought you back a pen.
Yeah.
It's about that big.
That's right. Souvenirs.
That's all you get.
There's a certificate somewhere. There are some follow-ups from that, some interesting learning we had, especially about communicating during meetings and appropriate protocols to protect ourselves and others. Was that the one I was in with you, Case? No, not Case, I mean, Heron.
Yeah, I was in that one.
The public comment session with the attorney was really interesting, and
Yeah.
even down to how you put it on your agenda, what your policy is. I think there's some things we should look at there. It really went through what is constitutionally protected and gave a lot of examples about situations in city council meetings where people would come up and say all kinds of stuff from around the country and then ask, is it protected? Is it not protected? Is it and when is it? And it was really eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
They should have that as a main stage presentation. The guy was really entertaining too. So definitely some follow-up there that I think we could learn from that. We do have an event coming up for the community preparedness. It's May 7th. And what did they call it? Hall of Flame. The Hall of Flame. 7 to 9, planning a full 2 hours on that, right? I talked to Chief Glasgow yesterday, so teaching citizens about putting out fires. They're going to create a grease fire, and so people can really see what happens if you throw water on it, and light a car on fire. Yeah, and they're trying to put in a whole lot of good content into that, so
They
hopefully.
decided whose car they're going to light up on fire.
One of yours?
There's a
No. We had actually a couple people come forward with donations, so.
Mapleton used to have a car they wanted to do that with, but I think we got rid
Yeah,
of it.
so it's gonna be a party there, so a lot going on with that committee actually, but other than that, I don't have any updates.
Thanks to those who helped with reviewing the applications for the MYCC scholarship. This is the first year for this MYCC scholarship through the high school, and so there's 4 recipients, and they'll be awarded next Tuesday. But yeah, thanks for those that helped.
Great, I'll take just a minute to indulge on a topic that has become I've become quite close to over this past year. I've reached out to council members this last week. Just in brief, a local organization in Provo, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to help refugee families become enculturated and become self-sufficient and self-reliant as they adjust to their new life as a result of displacement due to world events. As you know, I have 2 families in my neighborhood that I've been quite involved with them. It's been an incredible experience. The organization is applying to become a resettlement agency. And through that application process, as you guys know, I reached out. They reached out to me. I'm on the board now, but they've also reached out to me because I am a city council member in review of the letter template that I sent to you, each of you, I saw that it was quite an official sounding letter, right? That in that letter, we would be stating as a representative of the city, speaking in more of an official capacity, and I really wasn't comfortable with that without having some discussion in this forum. So I talked to Corey yesterday about what would be the appropriate way to go if the council is supportive. We talked about possibly doing just a resolution stating, hey, here we support an organization that is trying to do good things for people that are otherwise disadvantaged. So, and you guys are familiar with these two families and the situation, so if there's no opposition to that, I'd like to work with Corey to bring a simple resolution to the table so that it's more, I don't want to write a letter as representatives of Mapleton without having a public component to that.
Just a quick question in that regard. It's families, or is it in individuals too? Is it just for families?
I think it's really, these are people that are displaced. They may come from refugee camps. Some people that have come over, and I think it's all of the above, Reed, to be quite honest with you.
Could be individuals too.
Could be. There are some people that have been in a refugee camp for 4 and 5 and 6 years, waiting for whatever they're waiting for, right? And so I think it can be all of the above, but there is a vetting process they go through that they're brought over with, there's a screening, a process that they go through, so that's taken care of, yeah.
I think that I'm broadly supportive,
yeah.
But the language has to be really careful.
Absolutely. I know that it's can be a delicate and sensitive topic as we look at headlines around the country, but I hope that we can come to a statement of support for those who are trying to do good things for people who need that help. So I'll work on that with Corey, but know that will be coming, I think, in short order. So, and if anybody asks you questions, point them my way. If it comes up at all,
Yeah.
I'm happy to take those conversations. And thank you also for the support of these two families as well in the ways in which you have over the last year. It really matters, so thank you.
Cool. That's cool. I don't have really much other than the report from the mid-year conference in St. George. I thought it was a really good one, very well attended, and some really good content on some much needed stuff. This one breakaway session that we went to was really informative. Limited public hearings is what they were highlighting, and I looked into those a little bit. Really, really cool stuff. We had a community cleanup since the last time we met, I believe, and it was a raging success. The dumpsters were awesome, but not enough. I don't know if you guys saw around noon on Saturday, there was a mound bigger than our Christmas tree mound of trash over there by the dumpsters. Oh, no. So it was just coming so fast that we couldn't keep the dumpsters emptied or smashed down fast enough. So he just got in the loader and just started piling it all up in a big, huge, giant pile, and just keeping the ground clean so more people could drive in and dump their stuff. So
can we get more from the same organization, or do we bring in a secondary company?
I think we already
we have to.
Yeah, it might be better next year when we don't have an old transfer station that's overclogged anyway.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be relieved on their end, and we already contracted them to just basically take care of it, and they did. It was a matter of everything came at once, so they handled it, and it wasn't like.
Friday, people just started dropping stuff and not putting it in the dumpsters too. So it started out as a mess too.
That's always disappointing.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, it was handled well, and we handled a record number of tons of trash, and I think it's a service that I think is still worth providing to the city, and I just think it was an overall great success for the whole community cleanup. So that's all I had.
Great, thank you. Camille? And Corey's not here. Logan?
Just a couple dates. So baseball and softball is going to get started, which means our opening day parade. So it'll be next Saturday. I want to invite everybody to come out to it. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be some fun changes this year to enhance the experience, and the parade will stay the same. But then at the park, we're going to do some fun new things, going to have a coaches versus players wiffle ball game and some other fun things. So I don't want to spoil all of it, so you guys just have to come and find out.
It's the 11th, right?
The 11th, yep, and the parade will start at 10, and we're starting the parade at Maple Grove Middle School, and then they'll come down 400, and then turn onto 8th West, and then come down into the park. So we have outgrown this space. Last year we had 20 T-ball teams, this year we have 30.
Wow.
And, yeah, that's all. And coach pitch, I can't even tell you how much more we have coach pitches, a lot. So it's great. Like I said, we love the families and the kids, and we'll take them all. So.
Where did you say the route got changed to?
So it's starting at the middle school. They'll come down 400 and then turn on to 8th West. So we're essentially from, right now they currently, or the old route was to go down to 3rd West and then turn on to Maple and then to 8th. So we're just getting rid of that section.
Yeah.
And it's actually on the map, it's about the same distance from the middle school, but only one turn as opposed to 3. Like I said, it was just a space. We couldn't fit anybody
For the game,
anymore.
is it the T-ball players versus their coaches, or for the wiffle
It
ball,
is
or-
7th and 8th graders.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody's seen Banana Ball, but we're giving it a go. So we're gonna have some spunky umpires and things being thrown, and so it'll be fun. I think everybody will
It's a fun
enjoy it.
tradition. I'm glad that it's continuing. I have not participated in it, but I know that it's a highlight.
Yeah, it is for sure. And there's nothing better to see all those kids smiling and waving to everybody, and it's awesome. So, one thing that got brought up last year and was I just wanted to make sure it was publicly noted that we did talk about the candy throwing and making sure to stay on the float. So I know there was some things last year that happened, and so we want to make sure that was noted. Obviously, as much other things, we tell it, and we hope it doesn't happen, but if we will have people along the parade route, and if something does happen, we'll make sure and get with them, because we want to make sure everybody's safe. And then we did hire Zach's replacement. He just started with us a couple weeks ago. So his name's Colby North. He came from Nebo School District and then has done just some landscaping stuff prior to that. So he's doing really good. Baptism by fire right into spring, but he's doing awesome, and we're excited for this year and onward and upward. So thank you.
Thanks, Logan.
Thanks, Logan, and congratulations on that award.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chief?
Well, sorry for taking so much time, but I got a few more for you. Thanks for covering the community event next week, so I'll skip over that. Just as a heads up, if you see some activity this weekend, Spanish Fork is still looking for that missing person in the Foothill area. It's been a long time, but they've organized their CERT team to come out this weekend, and they've asked for neighboring CERT teams to come out too. So I don't know how many of ours are planning on participating, but that invitation's been given to them. It'll be Saturday morning, I want to say 8 to 2, right around in that area, and they'll be down on the South Foothills if you see some activity down there. Earlier today, Madison put out information on our Youth Academy. We're going to do that again through June and into July. A couple registrants has come in during this meeting, so we're excited about that. And then the last thing I want to cover is, Corey and I were riding around the other day through town talking about some stuff, and we got talking about the topic of the e-bikes and the scooters and the golf carts and all the other things everybody rides. Yeah.
Hoverboards.
So, and as we're talking about it, we see it. I mean, it's happening in front of us. You know, got a couple kids piled up on a bike, and it's hard because they're having fun, and we certainly don't want to put an end to that. But I would dare bet you guys have all seen in your travels some activity on those bikes where you're like, oh goodness, we're playing with fire there. So I went back and started looking up some laws, and it is incredibly confusing, the laws on e-bikes and scooters and how big they are and what requires a license, what doesn't. So anyway, Rebecca is doing light duty, so she put together a spreadsheet of all the laws pertaining to them. I'm happy to give you a copy if you want it, but the reason I bring it up is Madison and I are going to work together next week and try to get some information pushed out on those. The other part, though, is I have asked the officers to start enforcing that a little bit more. So they have, and it's caused some, I mean, there's some emotion to it. You know, when a kid gets pulled over on his way to school on one, the parents aren't real happy with that. So I just want you to know that from my perspective, and I think you've seen it too, I think we're kind of playing with fire with some of these kids in the road. So I've asked the officers to step that up. So do you have some?
I suspect with the conflicting laws or the confusion with the laws and the increased popularity of these e-bikes, that might be something that our friendly neighborhood State Representative. I suspect that could be coming up very
The challenge they
soonish.
have is a new bike comes out, but the legislation doesn't go
No.
into session, so we kind of sit
I
in
know.
limbo for a while on it. What I'm the most concerned about is, I don't know why, but I'm seeing kids doubled up on these bikes, and that's the one that gets me too.
You
Well,
are
yeah,
or aren't?
Are.
Oh.
And in the middle of the road, and then.
The bikes or the scooters?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the scooters, little
Yeah.
kids at night
And
with
they
no
go
bikes.
fast. I mean,
Electric
they
scooters, it's
move.
shocking.
And I'm seeing them down by my place on the highway in front of the
20-year-old.
house after dark with no lights on. So I bring that up because I kind of think, you know, this is, and it got brought up in Chiefs meeting today too. Every city is dealing with this. So anyway, just want that on in the back of your mind there.
I'd
So.
love to do some more formal things on that. I mean, yeah, it's hard, and I don't envy that the officers are gonna have to deal with some grumpy parents who we might still hear, well, it's just a kid, they're fine, it's a farm country, or we're rural.
Well, and I get
That
that
is
side of
not-
it, but it's tough. We've dealt with it. It's happened here. So anyway,
We
just.
err on the side of saving a kid.
So Madison and I will work together down the road, we would like to do some education stuff on it too before too long, so.
If you can send me the Excel, that'd be
Chief,
great.
if you-
I'd like it.
I'm sorry?
I'd love to see the Excel that you prepared.
Yeah, I'll just give you guys a
Yeah.
copy unless you want it electronically.
Either way,
No.
If you'll email it out, that'd be great.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
thanks.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Madison?
So effective last week, it was announced that Meta, the parent company over Facebook and Instagram, is blocking third-party access to any Facebook group, which means our Archive social service that archives all of our social media activity, backs it up properly for public record use, is not able to access these Facebook groups. So I'm doing a lot of research within Civic Plus to see what resources they have available, how other cities are addressing this. But right now, it's looking like best practice moving forward will be to not conduct any kind of official city business in a Facebook group. So I'll put together something as I get something more concrete and as we all figure this out together, but just keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks and months for a clear policy on how to handle those really fun community groups.
Madison, can you more clearly define official city business? The reason why I'm asking is, you know, invitations to come to city council meeting or perhaps clarifying actual facts around
Yes.
certain topics. Do you mind just addressing that?
Yeah, and that definition is still pretty vague. I'm hoping to see a streamlined definition across different cities and as we navigate social media. But right now, I think any opportunity we have to discuss city-related topics on an approved public record medium, whether over email or a meeting with notes and different things like that, I think anything city-related officially that you would do with your city council cap on, I would consider that city business for now. So I think those conversations are different than, oh, I'm your neighbor, let me answer this question for you. I'm answering this as a neighbor as opposed to, as a city council member, I have access to this information and this insight and this perspective.
Great.
And
So-
did you say it was only Facebook, or is this across Instagram and other social media as well?
So this applies to Facebook groups. So everything,
Facebook.
yeah, so we have access, all of our Instagram comments, all of our Facebook comments, any private message we have, anything we post from our pages is still backed up, it's good to go. And right now, what we're seeing is people are just pushing any kind of correspondence that way. So we'll have more information as we kind of figure this out. That's the fun of social media, is it's always evolving and changing and trying to get a grip on it. But just wanted to make you aware that's in the pipeline. And with the fun we have in those community groups, I think that's a big topic right now, just the court of public opinion, trying to figure out how to effectively share factual information.
Great. So those comments will live in infamy.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah, so long live the Facebook groups, unfortunately. And that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Madison.
I had
Oh,
one
Corey,
thing.
do you have anything?
The only thing, those two individuals that were here, they live over in Sunrise Ranch area, and the developer's putting in trees in their park strip, and they had some questions as far as the type of trees and spacing, so Sean and I will go out there tomorrow and meet with them and see what their concerns are, so.
Oh, great. That's great that they came.
Yep, that's all I had.
Wonderful. Okay.
I had one thing I forgot about. I just want to let you know. I don't know if we've done much before or not, but I do have a neighbor that's turning 100 this year, and he's a
100?
World War II vet, and he still lives alone at home.
Oh, Oh, my goodness.
Oh, we should totally promote that. That's awesome.
Yeah, good, guy. Rupert McGuire, maybe you know him.
Oh, yeah, he comes to the.
Yes, you know Rupert. He is such a good guy. He's such a fan for so many people. He's such a good guy.
When does he turn 100?
It's, is it the 25th or 26th? It's a Sunday. It's actually a Sunday is his birthday.
I think that's pretty
How
remarkable.
about we
Bring him
convene
a
our next
cake
city
and
council
stuff?
meeting in his living room and celebrate his birthday?
I love that.
Do we have him come here and
Yeah,
recognize
just
him?
say, we'll talk to the staff, and if you have any ideas, let us know.
I think we
but
should acknowledge
maybe
that.
we
I
have
think
one.
that's remarkable.
As a neighborhood, we're gonna try and put like 100 flags in his front yard while he's asleep the night before.
Love it. That's great.
That'd be some
Stuff like that.
joyful PR. We could use that.
Yeah.
You think you'd want to come to the Open Day Parade down at the ballpark?
He should throw out the pitch.
It's hard. He might. He doesn't like to eat in public. He's a little embarrassed about, anyway, some of that stuff, but he doesn't like recognition, but he surely deserves it.
Well, I think
He's
we
one
should
of
do
our heroes
something.
in World War II, not just a veteran, but he was a real veteran.
You think he's listening in tonight?
No.
I think that's remarkable.
Well,
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
love
we'll
to
talk to the
celebrate him.
staff and come back with a couple ideas.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
Good.
Super.
Great. Well, do we have a motion to adjourn? And do we have a close meeting today? No? Nope. Great. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Yes.
Garrett, yes.
Oh, second. Okay,
Yes.
Councilmember Egbert made a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Theron.
Garrett.
Theron Garrett seconded. All in favor?
Garrett, yes.
Aye
Aye.
and yes.
Okay, have a good night.
Yes, I.